So, are we supposed to root for this character? Is he a good guy or a bad guy? Are we the bad guys for rooting for him? Can we root for him? My channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss the Netflix film White Tiger. Now, I have been trying for some time now to watch White Tiger, and now that I finally did, I'm so glad that I did. Before we get into what I thought about this film and why I feel like you should watch White Tiger and why I am conflicted about how we should or shouldn't feel about our main character, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a second to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss all things tradition. Hopefully subscribe to see more of me. Let's get into this movie review. Now, we start off with our protagonist and kind of working our way backwards to see how he became this rich, ponytail rocking, mustache wearing mogul that he is today. We're kind of working our way back to see him come from really small, poor means, and we're just trying to see how he got to where he is. Now, initially introduced to him and following the story, you think that this is, uplifting story of someone, pulling themselves up out of poverty and becoming this rich sensation. And then we soon find out that this is not that. And it was good. Now, immediately after we are introduced to our character, we are thrown into India. There is so much India everywhere, and it is beautiful, whether we're in, the slums, the city, different dynamics, different family members, different parts of the culture. Everything is beautiful. I love that we get so much India here. And we get what we always get, which is being familiar that they are really, really deep based in tradition. It's all about tradition and following what seems to be put up on you before you're even born. This is what you're supposed to do. And we are made to understand that our protagonist is, he only knows to work. We work, we provide, we bring this back home to our family. We are meant to, be content with what we have. He's not taught to achieve and want more than what his family had, what his father had before him, and what his father probably had before him. We are content with our means, and you shouldn't want or, desire anything more than that. And we see our character trying to grow and get beyond that. And it's, a wild ride to get there with him. Now, the lead character here, I do understand that this is kind of his first big movie role, and he did an amazing job, and I'm hoping to see him more. I really love this film as a whole because we really get into the grit of India. I don't watch a lot of Indian films, but anytime I really, really think of Indian films, which is horrible, outside of like a Slumdog Millionaire, which I love, it's always really, kind of really action-packed, or like the Bollywood, the love stories and stuff like that. You never think of, the gritty India and us getting characters like the one we met here, who wants to be more than that and wants to go against tradition. Now, getting more into the story, I love that this is such a well-rounded story. We really don't take any shortcuts in getting to know our character. We even start off with him as a young man. And we see that he's, a really star in his classroom, and his teacher considers him a white tiger, and that he's going to persevere beyond all of his, schoolmates who really have no interest to be there. I really love that we get so invested into this character, and it really pays off later on into the story and with some of the questionable decisions that he makes, and us kind of being indecisive on siding with him and understanding where he's coming from. Now, we see that he does want to strive. He does, value education, but not so much his family. They're about, working, bringing money into the home. And you see that he sees his father get, kind of broken down to the bone trying to pay off this upper echelon of, Indian man or Indian family to, the point that he just breaks down. He's like, that's not going to be me. I don't want this to be my life. And it was really refreshing to see that here, because you see so much of a stigma. I watch a lot of documentaries, y'all. You see so much of a stigma in Indian culture of doing things outside of tradition. It's almost like you're cast off. And this was amazing here to see someone go against the grain and go, no, that's not me. Now, once we leave that and his father is essentially worked to the bone, you see him, throw out this rooster chicken theory and, talk about how Indians are raised to be so loyal that they are almost, kind of considered, to be as loyal as a dog. And just some of the things that they were saying and, conditioned not to, achieve things for themselves, but always conditioned to work for others. And we get, references as, my master. I found, my master. And it's like, master? Not today. Master. It was so kind of jarring to hear that, because here when you think of masters and you think of slavery and things like that, and it's like seriously modern day servitude and slavery. Yes, they are being paid. No, they're not being forced to be there or partake in these things, but it's like, as far as my surroundings, you see nothing else available to him to uplift himself out of their situation. It's either this or go and make myself available and take a chance on being a driver. You see him beg grandma to be a driver. I love when we see those different visions of his family and the expectations that are on his back, and you feel for him because that this is his upbringing and his culture, and his family just does not understand or want to invest in him doing anything outside of the small severe brat breaking work to bring money into the home. Like, I just want to have driver. I just want to be a driver and I'll bring money home. Everything is about bringing money home. You literally have your whole family on your back. You're not just, your immediate. No, you have grandma, you have cousins, you have uncles and aunts and everybody. And it's like, who got time for all this pressure? As we get further and further along into the story, you really get into the different angles and shots and cinematography that's going on. It's really interesting and pulls you into the character or the city or the antagonist and the protagonist that you were talking to at the moment. It's really brilliantly shot here, and I absolutely loved it. It was something different and something that I hadn't seen before, and they really played with, a lot of colors, a lot of textures, and, there's a lot of attention to detail here, especially on our characters. When we do meet our well-off, family, the father and son duo and the Pinky, there is such a contrast between him and our lead character, who have those really stained yellow teeth, and he's just filthy and very comfortable. His family is very comfortable in the conditions that they're in because they don't know anything else. What else would we be doing but this? And he sees something, and he sees a goal, and this is what I want to achieve, and he becomes a driver. I love the shots we see of constantly seeing our lead character behind bars. There's so many bars and different shadows, just to show that he's blocked out of something that he would never be able to achieve, never be able to touch, nothing. He's just on the outside of these things. And his main thing is, how do I get there? How do I get even a little bit of this? Now, once we see our main character finally attach himself to one of the, richest men in India, as well as his son as his driver, we see a little bit of his character and his morals slowly start to deteriorate as he's, no longer in his family dynamic of, hey, brother, this is what you're supposed to do. Why aren't you doing these things? What about us? And he's solo, and his character instantly kind of switches, and it's a mentality of, I don't care anymore. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get myself out of this situation. And him kind of, following the lead driver, because we're hired as a driver, but we instantly see is kind of a secondary thing to him coming into servitude. He's dusting carpets, he's sweeping, he's rubbing feet, doing things outside. I was hired to be a driver. I didn't get hired to sweep. And I love that how we are introduced to Pinky and the son is such a contrast for him and them being from New York and kind of visiting and just so unaware of their surroundings and their culture, for them to be Indian, for them to be kind of raised in the culture, and they left that all behind and got a whole New York mentality. This is almost foreign to them. And though that we see that the father absolutely has a sensitive bone in his body for him, he's hitting him, he makes it a point to tell him not to shake his hand, he's unclean, you're here to serve me. If I want to hit you, I'm going to hit you. If I want to, disrespect you, talk to you, curse at you, I'm going to do that. And though we see the son and Pinky kind of, have a different attitude towards him, and you kind of feel some type of sincerity coming off of them, they also kind of ridicule him and mock him and consider him, less than, him asking him about, technology and computers, what's, the new movement, and he's unaware of these things. He's never been exposed to these things. And you kind of think that, maybe not with the father, we're not getting anything with the father. Maybe we can get a soft spot and some sincerity, some real progress with the son. But as soon as we see him take that first leap into, a character change, when he, follows that lead driver and finds out that he's, Muslim, and uses that against him and does something that's really unfair, because, it's like, well, damn. And it's really, a culture shock here, because, here you're able to kind of practice any religion you choose to, but him being a Muslim would get you hurt. The main thing in this story that was just like, oh gosh, it was as if the penalty for every little thing was death. I was like, damn. There was no in between. There was no 0 to 10. Any, small indiscretion, anything you do, you take this, you do this, you touch this wrong, you make one wrong move, we're coming after your family. But, there's so much belittling going on, and we, feel so sorry for our character, and knows that he has the potential to be more than he is when he does do something like, take from the Muslim driver, run him off and take his position. Though it's wrong, we're still siding with him. We have invested so much into this character that when he practices all of this wrongdoing, we're with him. I loved it. Now, at this time, we are still, under good impressions for our main character, because he's still, sticking to his word, sending that money to his family, which was, a lot in itself. Like, there was so much to be the one to be dependent upon your whole family. Like, Lord, Grandma, shit. But, we get more into him, becoming the main driver and, forming more of a bond with Pinky and, the son, and them kind of just being amazed at the little small things and knowledge that he knows as far as, being in India and being a driver. And you feel like they have some type of friendship that will grow beyond just this car. And he does also too. I love that it's such a negative, representation here to call somebody master and be so involved in servitude, and almost it really felt like slavery, and him being belittled and him still being so loyal and loving and yes sir and yes master and yes and always there at these people every beck and call. It was a lot. Now, speaking of Pinky, I love the way that the women were portrayed here. The actress who played Pinky looks a lot like, I'm not really trying to say anyone's names here because I don't want to butcher anybody's name, but the actress who portrayed Pinky looks a lot like the woman from a lot of movies that I've seen. But I used to love a movie with Denzel Washington called Mississippi Messiah. I don't know, but she looks exactly like that woman, and they are just so beautiful. Pinky was beautiful. I really love the way that the women were portrayed here. Once we are introduced to Pinky being, outspoken, being, a different kind of woman. Now we get the typical traditional Indian woman, the, what we're kind of used to seeing with the grandma. But once we get to Pinky and the woman portrayed as kind of like what she's like supposed to be, like a mayor or one of those. It was so great to see these women speaking their mind freely amongst these Indian men and not giving a damn what anybody thought about it. It was so different from the stereotypical things that you usually see, Indian women being very soft-spoken, not being able to, express themselves, wear what they want to wear, think the way they want to think, have an independent thought outside of their husband, and also see the son be, very progressive and understand against his counterparts. Even, our main, protagonist is like, I thought Pinky was, one of those women. Like, we're not used to that here. That was really great here to see. I had never really seen that. I finally think that, our main character has found some place to fit in, because he doesn't literally fit in anywhere. He's kind of, withdrawn from his family because he no longer sees them now that he's the main driver, and he's no longer sending money. So they are just you're dead to me. And we see that he doesn't even really fit in with the other drivers. You know, they have a certain section in the hotels and places that they sleep. Really, oh God, everywhere these people were sleeping, it was like, oh, how are we sleeping here? Like, you go and you see all this upper echelon of things, all these riches, all these material things, all this beauty. Then you have to go back and sleep in these shanties, these tents, these, you know, horrible living conditions. And he loved it because it was so much, you know, beyond what he was already used to. And I love the transformation we see him go through in kind of being upset at, you know, his family not really investing those things in him, because you have Pinky kind of taunting him and going, you know, why don't you expect more? Don't, you know, lie to me and say you enjoy this life of servitude and only being all things to us. You have to want more than that. And, you know, he's second guessed, you know, why wasn't I taught to, you know, value my education, myself, my appearance, you know, simple things as far as, you know, not scratching my privates in Publix or brushing my teeth. I have to start taking pride in myself. And you see him start to do these things, and not only do those, but get close to Pinky and, you know, the husband. And we get to the accident. We get to the accident. Now, this was a hard scene because, you know, we do see that they are, you know, intoxicated, and but he's so used to being, you know, a servant and having to follow everything. How dare he say, you know, no, you're not driving. You know, we even see them leave him on the street. But you see a switch happen. All this time there has been belittling, a little insulting, and but not as much as his father. But once you see that he's willing to let him take the fall for Pinky hitting someone and saying that he was the sole person in the car and this was literally his fault, and holding this against him. And once again, we get, you know, play into the family. And I love those backdrops of those shots of, you know, seeing the family, you know, executed. And, you know, the first thing that pops into your head, if I don't do this, this is what happens to me and my family. It really put things into perspective outside of, you know, just hearing them say stuff. And it's like, we have been on this ride with him trying to persevere and prove himself and prove that he is worthy of this job and prove that, you know, I don't need to be replaced. I am valued here. I can be more than just this. I'm your friend, at least. I'm your friend, right? No. And we like see him have a full-on mental breakdown, and we slowly see pieces of him taken away. And we have been on this journey with him so far that we know as an audience, whatever he decides to do at this point, we're with it. Now, unable to deal with the conditions and the guilt, because she was guilty. Go ahead. How you gonna just hit a poor little kid and just leave? Like, she just left. Pinky just left. Like, you know what? This marriage really isn't working for me. I'm just gonna go. But you see her leave, and we see more of a switch with, you know, Master and Balmar. That was horrible. See, don't even say nobody's name. And our main character, as far as his treatment, because he sees this as an opportunity to, you know, be here. I need to be here for him. Be, you know, companionship. Make sure he's, you know, eating and he's not drinking as much. Make sure. And once we get more into that, we already are, you know, a bit, you know, torn with when Pinky, you know, comes and she, you know, did you tell them that, you know, they aren't searching for the case is closed, and the dad kicks him down. It's just like, why? It becomes a bit much at that point. So once you see Pinky leave and, you know, give him a small amount of cash, like, girl, what is this supposed to do? You slowly see him, you know, change, and he starts to, you know, make his plan of, you know, what do I need to do? Clearly, I'm not getting anywhere with these people. Let me start, you know, doing things like for lack of a better word, you know, becoming an Uber, you know, ciphering gas out of the car, different things to put money for himself to the side, even though we know and he knows this is just, you know, a small slice of the pie. This isn't going to sustain me for long. I need to have my plan. And he feels like, you know, if I'm all these things to my master and I be the best that I can be and I take care of him and I feed him, there is no reason why I shouldn't be able to sustain this job and be here for him. And once you see the moose come back, the moose between the whole movie, he just needs to be punched in the face. He just needed to go. The moose needed to go. He took every opportunity to hold something over that young man's head. It's in my pocket. It's always going to be, you always need to be in fear of me. Don't ever get too comfortable. You can always be replaced or we could kill you. Fuck that moose. But you see him and that moose having that damn conversation, and he lets it be known, you know, hey, I think it's time for a replacement. And, you know, kind of just drives down everything that he was trying to do. And you see, you know, the master lash out and knock things over and continuously hit him. There was so much hitting going on. It seems like every time he got hit, we got hit with him. And it was just like, damn. This movie, you know, plays a lot on your emotions because you're so drained with him, because you see him trying so hard to just get a little bit of what they have. And they were just not letting him in, and it's just such a letdown to see, and it pissed me off. So after he and I are made, you know, aware that the master isn't ever going to think anything of him other than him just being his servant, all of his, you know, perseverance and trying and his companionship and care is going unnoticed, because in the blink of an eye, he's going to hit him or belittle him, and only seems to ever confide in him as a friend when he's drunk, and he, you know, just pretty much gives up. And then this is when we get into the red bag and the indecisive decisions of this movie. Even though we are slowly seeing our main character descend into madness, you know, once we see him kind of out and about with the homeless man and, you know, literally using the bathroom out in the open on the ground. And it was like very symbolic as to, you know, if you're going to treat me like this, if you're going to treat me as this thing, as this, you know, this bomb, this unnecessary entity around you, this waste, I'm going to act like it. You slowly see him begin to, you know, break things and, you know, lash out. And even with his family sending his nephew down, I was like, y'all just, damn, you're just going to send the nephew. Just sit. Yeah, you go. How old are you, 10? Yeah, just go. It's just crazy how fast they are, you know, made to be mature and handle certain things in their culture. But you see, you know, that going on. You also see, you know, the other drivers, you know, antagonizing him about his looks, his size, his weight, his family, the man with the vitiligo on his face. He was so close. Oh, dude with the vitiligo, why was he all up in his face? I was waiting for, you know, a whole gay moment to happen, because he was all in his face. Back up. But as we get to the end and he realized, you know, there was nothing more that I can do. They already found my replacement, and you see him contemplate that red bag. I was like, oh, because we had, you know, flashbacks in the beginning of, you know, him being wanted. And we're sitting here the whole time like, how do we get to the point of him being wanted? Because even though he wants these things and he's, you know, he's trying, you know, to beat down a brick wall, he's never getting through or anywhere with these people. What did he do for him to be a wanted man? Once we get into him switching up and, you know, breaking the glass, and we're, you know, seeing instances of him setting up to kill his master, a part of you, well, myself, I'm like, you know, he's a good guy. He's not going to go through with this. Something else had to happen. This is not in his character. He's sincere. He's sweet. He has given up on a lot of things, but it's not too late for him to go back. You want him to be that sweet, kind protagonist that we are used to seeing on film all the time. That good guy who remains a good guy. And even though he's knocked down, he keeps persevering. No. We get a totally different man. We get a man who goes, you know, to his wits' end till he finally becomes a whole murderer. Child, it was so good. It was so great for that switch up to happen, because that was something that I had never seen. It was so great to play against character, because you see him, you know, being an Indian. You loyal. We don't do things like this. If this is happening and they're going to replace you, fine. You just go back to the slums and start all over again. No. But after he kills him and takes that money, and we realize towards the end that him as well as his nephew, they have been kind of on the run. And he's built his own, you know, driving Uber-esque company. And this is, you know, his means of, you know, what's been getting him by this whole time. You have been a murderer, and that's how you got, and you see how proud and prideful he is to be there. He's even taken the man's name. We were rooting for a bad guy this whole time? Wow. But you are conflicted as far as how you should feel about it. And that is so fulfilling as far as a movie. This movie was so good. it never got boring. It never felt like, you know, we were just watching something, you know, to fill running time. It was so entertaining and everything was so strategic, and the buildup was so much that you couldn't help but identify with this murderer who did what he had to do to pull himself out of it. And you are as conflicted as he isn't. He doesn't even seem conflicted. He's so content you hear so much talk of, you know, this being the new India and the yellow man and all these racist remarks, and you still identify with him as a bad guy. Fabulous. But as you guys can see, I really enjoyed this movie. If you've seen this, please drop down and you know, tell me what you thought about it. This is a really quick review, especially for me. It's not as detailed as I would like, especially with this movie, but I do live in Texas and it has been a really trying week with everything going on. I'm trying to persevere and make this video for you guys, but yeah. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please comment and tell me what you liked about this movie. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I see you guys next time. Bye.